Thank you, Chair Graves, for holding this hearing, and I want to welcome Secretary Buttigieg, and thank you in advance for what may be a long day to give every member of our committee the opportunity to ask you some questions. But given the pace with which the U.S. Department of Transportation has been getting bipartisan infrastructure law money into the hands of communities, we appreciate your time and know that you'll be implementing the BIL and working on critical safety and consumer priorities if you weren't here today to answer our questions. Today we're here to highlight how federal infrastructure dollars provided by Congress and distributed by the DOT are benefiting communities and building cleaner, greener, safer, and more accessible transportation systems across the country. Last Congress, this committee answered the call of states, local, and tribal governments, transit agencies, railroads, airports, ports, labor, and other stakeholders to robustly invest in transportation infrastructure. Congress provided $660 billion in the BIL for roads, bridges, transit, rail, airports, buses, ferries, ports, pipelines, and other safety and infrastructure needs. The investment and number of new initiatives in the BIL far exceeds previous transportation bills. Congress handed DOT a tall order in implementing this legislation. I'm pleased to say that the pace of funding distribution has been impressive. In the first 2 fiscal years of the BIL, the department has distributed over $125 billion in highway funds, mostly directly to states, which states then paint with state money, and we get no credit for the work. But same with $39 billion in transit funds and nearly $10 billion in airport funds to states and localities. Funding has gone out under more than 3 dozen competitive grant programs, and more is on the way. As just one example, FRA plans to announce the availability of $14 billion under 3 rail grants by the end of this year. These dollars translate into projects on the ground and jobs for American workers. Through August 2023, BIL dollars administered by the DOT have supported over 50,000 highway projects alone, according to an analysis by the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. There's at least one new project underway in every congressional district in the country. And thanks to the BIL, just as an example, in my district, WashDOT is investing nearly $12 million in federal highway funds to rehabilitate the SR 529 Snohomish River Bridge in Everett. USD has awarded $25 million in raise grants to Whatcom County to replace the 60-year-old Lummi Island ferry. The city of Linwood will construct a new 6-lane multimodal bridge over Interstate 5, which will reduce congestion and build a more accessible transportation system for everyone there. These projects in my state and across the country means jobs. Jobs with good wages, benefits, and working conditions for transportation workers. The BIL means more jobs in the transportation, construction, transit, trucking, aviation, rail, and maritime sectors. Congress did its job to give the transportation sector the long-term resources it needs. And without these investments, the economy would be in far worse shape today. Now, our job is to conduct fair oversight of implementation efforts by the DOT, state DOTs, project sponsors, and industry to ensure these projects are delivered quickly and effectively, and that the law is implemented in line with our intent. Congress directed investments in the BIL for many things, including to address climate change and reduce carbon pollution and improve safety and equity outcomes in our transportation networks. Congress followed the example of states, cities, counties, and tribes across the country who are working to modernize and transform the way people and goods move and to improve outcomes and experiences for the traveling public. The federal policy changes are now in the hands of U.S. DOT to execute. I especially want to applaud the department's efforts to date on this front and the steps taken to prioritize equity consideration in grants to ensure disadvantaged business enterprises reap the benefits of BIL funding as well, to address the spike in traffic deaths, and to measure and reduce carbon pollution from transportation sources. We now have to build on the success of the BIL by enacting a strong FAA reauthorization. This House passed H.R. 3935, the Securing Growth and Robust Leadership in American Aviation Act, in July by a strong bipartisan 351 to 69 vote. Came out of this committee 63-0. This bill is a bipartisan effort done in good faith to secure the future of the U.S. aviation system. It will help advance American leadership in aviation safety and aerospace innovation, strengthen and diversify our aviation workforce, improve consumer protections and accessibility, and make groundbreaking investments in sustainability and resiliency. I'm sure, Mr. Secretary, the DOT is eager to see this bill enacted into law so you can begin implementing it as well. And I urge the Senate to act as soon as possible so we can complete a final long-term reauthorization and communities and the traveling public can reap that bill's benefits. But aviation is not the only mode in need of our attention. Rail incidents and accidents continue to occur around the country, endangering people and communities. In the 7 months since the Norfolk Southern derailment in East Palestine, There have been more than 500 train accidents, and yet this committee has not yet held a rail safety hearing. And I urge the committee to take this long overdue action on rail safety. And we are soon as well expected to act on a pipeline safety authorization next week. And according to the Pipeline Safety Trust, pipeline incidents and accidents in vulnerable areas have risen over the past 20 years, highlighting the need for Congress to enact additional pipeline safety measures. So I hope today's hearing can be an acknowledgement and celebration of the infrastructure benefits each of our districts and constituents are reaping. This committee continues delivering bipartisan solutions for all Americans thanks to the leadership of Chair Graves. This stands in contrast to the chaos we're seeing right now in the FY 2024 funding talks that is threatening to end in a self-inflicted government shutdown, which I hope we can avoid. So thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your steady hand in guiding the department and the priorities Congress has asked you to implement. I look forward to today's discussion. With that, I yield back.
Thanks, Rick.